Come on. It's too cold out here for you. Come on. You need your little sweater. Come on. It's all ice. Come on. Well guys, welcome back to the channel. Like you can see outside, it's cold here in Louisiana. We've been into the single digits the past couple of days. We should start defrosting today. But I've had some emails concerning the fireplace, how things were going, if we're liking it, what would we do different, pros and cons. So I want to kind of go over this. This is an AcuCraft 44-inch, made up in, I believe, Minnesota, mostly sold into the northern areas where it's always snow. Now this is a flush mount fireplace. Basically this is a firebox, and they come in, I think, 3 sizes. There's a 36, this is a 44, and then I believe there's a 50-inch. 50-inch would be like way up here. So I want to get a tape measure out. I want to kind of give you some dimensions, some overall size relative to my size. I'm 5'6", 5'7", kind of short, but it kind of gives you a perspective of how everything's laid out. We still haven't had installed the mantle, and we're still using the TV from the old camper. These are 10-foot ceilings and just brick. So let me get set up here and we'll get some measurements for you. So the overall dimension of my width of my fireplace and everything, that's 101.5 width. The hearth is 13 inches, and then the height of the fireplace to the center, that's 43 inches to here. That dimension across is 61.5. So probably from back there you can't tell, but there's an actual fire going on right now. It's really hot, cold bed in there, but these are glass doors. And so we'll get right into well, the con. So the EPA and the way they're doing, having to reburn the smoke, etc. There's an actual plate underneath here. It's too hot to show you right now, but there's a plate held in place by all thread. It forces the smoke to come back around and burn more before exiting, and I guess it does work because mostly it's white smoke. Sometimes there's hardly any smoke coming out the chimney, but you can see there's a fire in there. But what it does, it puts a lot of soot on these windows, and in their advertisement brochure they say that it burns it all off. Well, I haven't found that to be true. Our wood has been stacked for 2 years uncovered, 2 years uncovered, so there's still moisture in our wood. For the most part it's pretty dry. So down here, so that's one negative, is that you're going to have to clean these windows quite often. We've only cleaned them once. I don't really care that it's smoky. You do lose the romantic ambiance, I guess, of not being able to see the fire too good. So when we do clean it, you see the fire really well. So that's one negative there. These get pretty warm. You can't touch this steel. That steel will hurt you. It'll burn you. I'll get you a quick measurement real quick. So I just got a little infrared thermometer. So right there, See the red dot? Right there is 203 degrees. The handle is 163 degrees. So this gets quite hot. Alright, so that would be another con, is how hot this firebox really gets. You can't touch the metal or the glass. Obviously, it's a fireplace. It's supposed to get hot. Right here, I can put my hand on it at this point. And let's see what that temperature is right now. So, I don't know if you can see that's 126 degrees. This is Fahrenheit, people. I live in America. So anyways, you can touch this at this point. As you go up, it's cooler, obviously. When I first started using this thing, I didn't quite understand how. So this has a blower system. Air is pulled in here, sucked in, and blown out here. There's a fan that circulates the heat around the firebox and back into your house. And right here, I'm pretty warm right now. Like I said, we're in the single digits outside right now. It's pretty cold. The house is a foam insulated home. It's been doing what it needs to do. It keeps mostly the living area warm, not so much for obviously the bedrooms because they're off of the side of the house. Now, this is controlled by a variable switch. Right here. So right now I have it turned off. Doesn't make a whole lot of noise. You get used to it. But here's the problem. You cannot leave that blower motor off because all that radiant heat just comes up. If I was to leave this off for about, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, this gets extremely hot to where you cannot touch this, and the heat obviously continues to rise. It's not forcing that radiant heat out into the house. Turn it back on. Now, that switch controls, it's a variable switch, so you can control the speed of the blower. It will only work once the bottom of the firebox hits 100 degrees. There's some solenoid or something in there that turns them on. So until the firebox actually heats up to 100 degrees down at the bottom, it doesn't work. It doesn't take very long for this thing to heat up. I would say within 30 minutes, depending on how big of a fire you start. Now once it turns on and everything, we have a little thermometer here. Let's see. So you can see it says 74 degrees in here. Really low humidity. Probably need to add some humidity back in there because you start touching things and it pops you, it zaps you. Anyways, all right, so that would be another thing that you need to be careful of is making sure that your blower unit is on to keep forcing the air out. I didn't really understand that in the very beginning. It should be common sense. It didn't take me long to figure it out. Alright, so down here you have two levers. One controlling the flue all the way open, one controlling fresh air intake. All the new building codes require fresh air intake from the outside of the home brought into your firebox, then obviously burnt and goes through the flue. And you can control the amount of air coming in and out. Alright, so obviously a positive would be that this blows warm air out, keeping your living space very warm and toasty. Sometimes it can actually get too hot inside this area and we have to either close some fresh air intake, let this burn down a little bit. You can stay warm with just the coals that's inside the firebox. It stays warm for easily a couple of hours with just my coal base. Now we decided to go with propane heat on our home, our stove and generator. Obviously we could not afford the installation of natural gas line down to our property. It was over $20,000 just to get it to the property line. Then obviously we'd have to come a quarter mile off, run a line to the house. So we went with propane. So to offset the cost, we researched to find a fireplace that could heat a house supposedly until the next morning. So we used the money to invest in the fireplace. Now the fireplace is expensive, shipping, and then obviously installation of the fireplace itself. It's getting really warm right here. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some negatives. You can't run this fireplace, I have not figured out how, with the doors completely open without smoke coming back into the house, because of the plate that they are forced by the EPA to put in there to circulate the smoke. So it just kind of goes around inside the firebox, then it's reburned and then out the chimney. Well, you still get smoke coming in. I contacted them about removing that plate and they said I could do it, shouldn't have any functional changes of the fireplace. It would just act like what most people are normally used to, just a box with a hole going up where the smoke goes. So I haven't done that yet. Now when you go to build this thing, you really need to get the rough opening and the minimum requirements from the manufacturer, because there's minimum requirements that has to be set off of the wood. That this is obviously framed out in wood inside there. That's really important. I still get a little nervous about how hot this thing can get. This is my first time ever having a firebox like this, so that's one thing that I'm still cautious about, is how hot or how big of a fire we make. Now, for like the girls like to do s'mores and stuff like that, and we'll open up the doors after the fire has burnt down a little bit to where it's not obviously roaring fire going through there like what you would traditionally see in a home with just an open type fireplace, and you just get your s'mores going. All right, so I had a couple of emails and messages from viewers that are actually purchasing this and wanted to know some information. So I won't mention who their names are. One of the questions was, how wide is your full fireplace from brick and all? So it was 101.5 width. I didn't measure the depth off the wall, so I can do that real quick. So the depth off the wall is 34 inches. The viewer asked that they're getting a 75-inch TV to put above it, and wanted to know if the layout would work. So this here is laid out for a 75-inch TV. You've got minimum distance that you have to do for your mantle, and obviously your TV is going to come down, sound bar, stuff like that. So 75-inch on a 10-foot ceiling with this 44-inch will work. It's tight, but it will work. Another thing they asked about was the blower system on it. Was it sufficient? Do I feel like I've had any issues? So no, just in the beginning I didn't realize that I had to go back and read the book. I like pictures. That it requires it to be 100 degrees before the solenoid, I'm assuming it's the solenoid, turns to where you can use the variable switch for the blowers. So you can't really feel a gust of air coming out of there, but you can feel the radiant heat coming out, and you can definitely tell a difference by using the blower versus not using the blower because of how hot this area gets. When you don't use it, the first time, I couldn't touch this. This would hurt you. It was so hot. So the blowers do work. I haven't had any issues with it. This is our second winter, but we only got to use it a short period of time this past winter, spring. We weren't in the house yet. So let's see what else we got here. All right, so obviously they asked about, you know, the overall dimensions. Did we have any install issues? So the only install issue I had was I didn't order enough vertical flue pipe, so I had to order another section to make it to meet above the minimum requirement install above the roof line. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have actually watched when me and my daughter were installing this. I had to use my tractor to get it into here because this thing is like 1,000 pounds. It was extremely heavy. Got it into the house and used a pallet jack to get the shipping crate off, and then I used I believe it was 12 by 12. Yeah, 12 by 12 cedar blocks from our beams outside to hold it up in place, a platform. So there's three 12 by 12 beam cutoffs, that is, underneath, holding that up. And temperature wise, is it hot enough to do any damage or concern of a fire, because it's a steel box inside of a steel box, if that makes sense. Now they asked if I had any issues. Haven't had any issues at all that I know of so far. Again, we've had it about a year. Obviously I don't like that it's hard to clean the glass doors for the fireplace visual. I don't have that smoke smell in the house, obviously, with the doors, where a traditional fireplace, this is open and it sucks in the fresh air to, you know, to help burn the wood then out the chimney. So you'll get that smoke inside the house, which I say smoke, the scent of the smoke is what I mean by that. You'll get a little smoke, but with this I don't have any of that. It's just heat. This is all just putting out heat. I don't smell anything. Now if I was to leave these doors open, obviously smoke's going to come into the house. Central heat comes on while this is still burning. Obviously it's going to, you know, pull, you know, smoke out. So that's, you know, keep the doors closed. That's what it's meant for. It's what house design. Now you can take these doors off, but again, like I said, I haven't experimented enough to figure out how to control that smoke with that big plate in there. If I take that plate out, I think I wouldn't have any issues at all with it just going straight out. So I think that was pretty much the issues that viewer had. I've got an email that I've been conversing with. I believe these people are in northern Arkansas. I had actually invited them down to come see the fireplace because I'm kind of that person that wants to touch it and see it, but they've already ordered it. He was asking about, the last question was foam spray. So our house is foam sprayed 100%. With these single digits, our thermostat is in the master bedroom. The single digits, now our house is obviously not designed and built like what, you know, a northern climate would be. You know, we got a traditional 2x4 walls, foam filled. And obviously, you know, fresh air is going to come in through the door cracks, and, you know, there's a minute amount of fresh air coming in from vent systems and stuff of that nature. So with these single digits, we typically keep our house at 68 degrees during the winter. When we're not here, we'll bump it down to 66 degrees. With these single digits though, the heat is not getting into our master bedroom leaving it at 68 degrees, and it will occasionally come on. The alternative to that is just to run your fan system of your heating, and it will distribute heat in throughout the house. I'm literally hot right here right now. I'm sweating, not sweating, I'm getting warm. So let's see what else these guys had to ask. So his thing was on the foam insulation. Some say that it
has an effect on the fireplace draw, and I'm assuming the air will. Again, you are sucking fresh air. Ours is a 6-inch diameter steel tube, flexible. It comes from the outside of the house all the way to the fireplace, into feeding this. So you won't have to worry about the air being sucked out of your house unless you obviously shut the damper off for fresh air and have managed to figure out how to keep the smoke out of your house. And it just pulls the air out of your house, which obviously, you know, don't necessarily want it to do that. So they actually ordered the same one that I have, and I had sent them some pictures, and they were asking about the size pipe. So this is a 16-inch flue for the smoke to go out. It's huge, big double insulated thing. So the last thing, when they first contacted me, they were asking about getting warm, was about a mantle. Now there's requirements of how from here to the bottom of your mantle has to be, and in the manufacturing, it does talk about using a non-combustible mantle. So I'm assuming like fiberglass or like a concrete type mantle. Now that I know I need to run my blower, I'm not scared about putting a wood mantle up here at all. Now obviously if you had higher than 10-foot ceilings, you could continue to raise your mantle. Obviously this is going to be up here, so this will be about where the bottom of our mantle will be. So the mantle is going to be high, which it was high on our last house, and we had no issues with it, and aesthetically it looked fine. All right, so I've been asked, do we like it? So there's 3 of us, me, my wife, and my daughter. I like it for what we bought it for, to heat the home and to save money. Did I save money because it's so expensive versus the long term of heating the home? Well, we lose power quite a bit, and I didn't want to take a chance of not being able to heat the house and us be extremely cold. It will do that. It is very warm. It manages. Now if we put fans blowing into the bedrooms, it would obviously, you know, heat the bedrooms with no problem. Have I been able to use this to where it's an all-night burn, which they say it will do? I haven't. I haven't experimented with it. I let it burn down and out and switch over to our propane heat system. I don't necessarily 100% trust this yet, just because it gets so hot. Now I've never had a wood burning type stove system where you heat a home. We've just had traditional open fireplaces, you know, get the smell, the sound, and stuff of that nature. Now my daughter doesn't like it because she can't hear it, she can't smell it, she can't feel it. My wife is either or. I like it for the fact that it will keep us warm. I don't like it because I can't hear it, smell. So I'm on the fence about that. One thing I'd like to suggest when you're building or, you know, finishing out, is you need to leave room, access to get your cables. So once the TV's here and the sound bar is here, we're going to have obviously more cords and stuff. So once, you know, the mantle's in place and the big TV's there, sound bar and stuff, you're going to need obviously more power. So on the last house we had just a single plug. What I mean by that is one on top. I put to where we have 4 accesses here. This is for obviously internet and cable. Now this right here, if you can see that, actually that's 2-inch electrical conduit that I can run my HDMI cables, etc., more power if I need it, down through here and into this cabinet down here. So it goes in, it snakes down, it comes down this wall, comes out right here. So obviously this is unfinished. So that's unfinished right now. Once it's all finished out, that's where the DVD player will go. My wife will build that out and stuff. So, you know, those kind of things. You just need to think about having some sort of access. A lot of people don't. They got cords and extension cords and stuff. So this was the second time I've done that. Did it in our last house, we did it here. Works out good. Now, this thing gets so hot, the mortar continues to crack and chip off. I'm not a mortar and brick person, so I don't understand if it's because it's so much heat or that we need to address the mortar. But overall, I haven't had any major issues. Now, obviously I need to go back and repaint right here, which they do send paint for after the installation, because you're going to scratch it up, you know, get it in there. Again, it's extremely heavy. So we have a double front door. Like I said, I used the tractor to get it into the house, and then pallet jacks to put it in place. All right, so I really don't know much more what to say. Would I buy it again? Yes. Would I be a lot more cautious on the framing on the inside? Trying to make sure I have as much maximum framing clearance away from the box and the chimney. That's what I would address. Mine's all closed up, so I can't show you hardly anything about it. They're expensive, but all three of us, my household, will agree that it keeps the house, especially the living area, very warm. It does put off some heat. Like I said, I'm warm right here. Of course, I got 2 shirts on, and it's up to 75 degrees in here. But my wife's asleep, so the master bedroom door is shut. I've got lights on. Now, we do use the ceiling fan to circulate the heat in the house, which distributes, you know, the heat amongst everything. So that's really all I have left for you guys. If I've missed anything, you know, make some comments down, send me an email. I'll try to address them as they come about. I'm pretty good about getting back to someone at some point, unless it's a nasty comment or something like that. I don't even pay attention to them. Sometimes they get blocked. I would buy another one to do the install if we ever to build again. It will provide plenty of heat, especially in Louisiana, single digits outside. It's doing what it needs to do. Typically, you know, we're in the 30s, 40s, and just a couple of pieces of wood at a time keeps this entire area comfortable and saves lots of money on the propane cost and heating and energy of you know, heating in the house. Now the house is 1,955 square feet, heated and cooled, single floor, 3-bed, 2-bath. I believe that's it, guys. I don't have anything else that I can say about it. They are, like I said, expensive, but they do put out the heat. Guys, I appreciate y'all watching. If y'all have any questions or comments, please get in touch with me. If you would, go ahead and hit that subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. But most of all, be a part of our family. And we'll see you on the next video.